I'm really happy to have the chance to bring John Denney onto the show again today. John, thank you so much for coming here into the studio and chatting with me. You were here for episode number 144, and we're coming in now at episode number 220. So how's your life evolved since that time period?
Well, I definitely commend your consistency.
Thank you.
Doing podcast, a lot of people give up long before episode 220. And, I think you're doing an amazing job here. And I really enjoyed being on last time.
Thank you.
And yeah, I have a lot of stuff going on. I mean, I don't remember the date, but I know that we hadn't moved down here yet.
No, not yet.
New location.
You were just getting ready to take on your first day of being the minister at Unity.
Oh, wow. Right.
So
it's been a while then. And yes, so much has happened since that time. It's unbelievable how the doors have opened, how I just got to see how visualization has been manifesting, how thoughts are things, how prayers are answered, whatever you want to say. Just watching how the road is opened has given me a really strong sense of faith.
What have you learned in relation to managing fear and trust?
Well, one of the big things was when we saw the new location. So we're moving this little church from a small location into a big sanctuary, a big location, so going from an 80-seat church to a 400-seat church. For me, it was almost overwhelming. How are we going to feel comfortable here? It's just too big. Well, the congregation is close to tripled now. We have an amazing fellowship where we have a beautiful spread of food each and every week at 1:00. And so it's been an incredible thing, but I had to let go of my fears to let that happen. God had bigger plans than I had, way bigger plans than I had.
Yeah, I understand.
We were all comfortable in our little cocoon.
I understand. That's cool. What type of response are you getting from your community in relation to what are some of the comments and feedback that you're receiving as a minister? I know you had expressed to me before how this was a dream of yours, that you had been thinking that you would like to go down this path, and it came to be where now you're able to do it. What sort of takeaways, realizations have you had in this process?
Well, it was, I talked about it as my impossible dream, not as a true dream that might happen. And it's been incredible. I mean, like I said, the congregation's grown, and there's the energy there is just palatable. It's like coming to your yoga studio. People like being here. They feel the sense of community. They feel the sense of welcome. And we've lost some people, and I learned early on, I'm not going to be everything to everyone. And certain people are going to resonate with other ministers, but for every person we've lost, we've gained 5 to 10. So, it just has to sort of weed itself out.
Yeah.
And as long as they find another minister who's teaching them their message, it's all good for me. I'm not chasing anyone down the street. I just let it happen and let that love and that community shine. And it's amazing to watch. It's
nice.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what your philosophy is about multi-faith understanding of higher power?
Well, unity is unity is sort of practical Christianity. How do we take love and gratitude and forgiveness and use them in our lives? But however, the founders of unity really accepted all faiths and all religions. And what they said was, go wherever you want to go. Go to your temple, go to your church, go to your mosque, go wherever you want to go, and then come on out to our farm and we'll show you how to apply these principles in life.
Interesting.
So they weren't trying to start a denominational church. They were just starting a thought movement to teach people how to use their thoughts better and improve their relationships, improve their communities, improve their societies. And so that's really been...
Isn't that a novel concept? Because all too often, don't we, like I heard someone say, look, I grew up in a religious home, but my dad was didn't exhibit any level of kindness, compassion, or thoughtfulness toward anyone outside of his cultural identity. And so we hear this over and over and over again. So it's pretty fascinating to me that, the Unity founders were like, hey, let's take wherever you're coming from and actually apply this stuff, you guys, not just read about it, but let's make it real.
And it's basically that one God, one presence that connects us all anyway. And that's what we're learning more and more. We're going to talk about later in the podcast, but it's, one presence, and it's that presence of love. It has to come back to that.
Yeah. That's really cool, John. Well, on that note, it's to go down the subject that got us so inspired to meet up today.
Right.
So how it played out for me in relation to, you reached out to me via text and you said, you sent me the link to the Telepathy Tapes podcast. And I listened to the very first part of the episode because you were so excited. You were like, you got to listen to this. Like, this is really a game changer. You need to listen to this. So I could feel through your enthusiasm, okay, I know I'm going to do this. And I was reading a different book and I knew, like, let me finish what I'm doing first so I don't get too scattered. I started the first episode. So this sounds really interesting. I can't wait to do this. And then I was listening to another podcast where the host had made mention of an author named Thomas Campbell and his book called My Big Toe. And the word toe stands for theory of everything. So it's like basically a quantum physicist who is claiming that through quantum physics, metaphysics, and philosophy, we now can arrive at a place where we can prove that there is a larger consciousness system in place. And that's how we're here and why we're here. Now, when I heard that, and then right after they said that, the person referenced, the telepathy tapes. And I'm like, whoa, just yesterday, John's telling me to listen to the telepathy tapes. Now I'm listening to something that's talking about the telepathy tapes. And here's this other book. What's this other book about? And I start reading the reviews, and the reviews are very interesting. They're like, look, if you want to read a book that's going to blow your mind, open the doors of your mind to the bigger picture that you never thought you would ever see, like that type of stuff. And I was like, well, I'm always open for a good mind bender. And I thought, let me go ahead and just get the book. So I get the book and I listened all the way through audio style. It's a long one. I think the book's like 700 or 800 pages. So it's a thick book. It's a big book. And let me back up a little bit. Prior to when we had our last conversation, I was in full atheist mode. Like full atheist mode. I'd traveled down that track, and really was like, wait, how could I be believing in all of this for all these years since I was a kid? Maybe I've been duped. Maybe I've been like tricked into believing in the Santa Claus, in a make-believe character that was just a nice little story just to make me feel good. And I had gone through about 2 years ago. I know my regular listeners probably have heard me complain about like physical back pain, physical pain, where I was suffering so intensely, which kind of even made me feel more like, what is the purpose?
I get it.
Why would someone invent this? This is so miserable. I'm in so much pain. How could it get this? And then all the events that we've been through, 2020, COVID, all this sort of crazy political madness, all this stuff just got me to a point where I was just like, I just don't even see. So I thought, sure, why not try a book like this? And after reading through Big Toe, it blew my mind so wide open. I have never been taken that far into that way of thinking of like where somebody can say, hey, this is how God exists. This is why there's a higher power. Take a look at this. Take a look at that. Don't you realize you have choices? What are you, like a rat in a maze that can't tell the difference between cheese and electricity? You need to make choices. If you make good choices, you'll be rewarded with good cheese. If you make bad choices, I really didn't want to hear that. So I'm like, what? You're trying to tell me that my back pain could be a combination of my choices that I made in life? I don't want to hear that. So I had to struggle through the book because it really made me look at some things that I just didn't want to look at.
Mm-hmm.
But the process of opening that has happened to me since I've started to look at that and the connections that have been made, I felt like I was reading the book, like he was dropping connection serum into my brain and all the synapses were beginning to like connect. And I was like, what? Holy cow. So then I finished that, blown out of my mind. I tell your wife, Barry, I'm like, you got to get John to read My Big Toe, because he was telling me to listen to telepathy tapes. And so then this weekend, I'm like, because I knew we were going to converse today, I'm like, let me finish listening to telepathy tapes. And it confirmed everything My Big Toe had explained in extreme detail. Like, if you want the scientific outlook of how we can come to this conclusion, read My Big Toe. It's a big one. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It's going to take some work, but the telepathy tapes, I was by episode 10 in tears, like happy joy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to spoil anything for those of you that haven't heard about it yet. I know we're probably going to maybe spoil a little bit.
Spoil. Yeah, it's fine.
But so then I've been texting with John the last few days and just being like, oh my gosh. And you've been sending me little firecracker symbols. Like, yeah, man, your mind is going to get blown, dude. I told you. And so, I mean, I can honestly say now that because I'm believing again that there is a higher purpose, there's a reason for me to be here. I have had the biggest turnaround in just feeling like gratitude. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the material that I need at the right time in my life when I was ready to process it. I'm very grateful that I grew up with some faith, that I also went through the yoga world really wanting to believe that these miracles were possible. Things that I read from Paramahansa Yogananda in the autobiography of a yogi like 25 years ago, thinking like, what? You can do that?
Mm-hmm.
Yogis are going through walls. They're making multiple bodies appear in different places at different times at the end. People seeing one guru over there at North India while they're seeing another guru down in South India, and they're both calling up saying, yeah, I saw the guru today. And they're like, no, I saw him up here. And like, no, he was down here. How is that possible?
Mm-hmm.
Like all the stuff that My Big Toe is explaining and what the telepathy tapes are explaining, I guess I just couldn't believe it before because there was no validation anywhere. I wasn't finding any like scientific work to explain that, yeah, this is happening. And then I just turned my back on it because I was just like, that's just crazy. That's just crazy stuff. So I've been dominating the conversation for a while, but I just had to say all that. And I'm just curious, what are you thinking?
It's funny you would turn your back on it when you have this incredible example of manifestation that we're sitting in right here. And I heard you got renewed for another 5-year lease, but which was impossible. You thought I'd be leaving in 5 months, and now we're staying for another 5 years. So, but this is proof that what we think about, we bring about, and our thoughts are extremely powerful. So I've always known and believed this, but I had no proof, And so, in a way, like I said before, I've prayed and meditated now for 30 years plus. And each and every day I pray for different people and different things. Well, I've always believed in my heart that something's happening, right? And I've watched things manifest in my life. I've attracted things into my life, which really I had thought about just as an idea. I've watched Barry, transform numerous ideas into real life situations. And so I'm watching a cause and effect scenario, and the clearer the thought gets. And so I've always had faith that I know my prayers and meditation work. I couldn't prove it, made it really almost a little frustrating sometimes. But now, after listening to telepathy tapes and understanding a little bit more of this vibrational understanding, I'm like, wow, I knew it was working. I just didn't quite understand how.
Yeah.
And there was no doubt in my mind it was working. I just wasn't quite sure. So about 2 or 3 months ago, in 1 week, 3 people sent me the telepathy tape link. And I put it off for a few weeks before I started listening to it. But once I started listening to it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is proof of what I've been doing now for 30 years.
Yeah.
And it's why I'm at this, it's why I'm over here, doing what I'm doing at Unity of Jupiter.
Yeah.
It's why, it's why everything has moved in the way it has. And I believe it's why I have Allie and Luke are doing very well in life. Barry's doing amazing at her job, but it's a very conscious effort. It's not chance. It wasn't luck. It's not luck.
Yeah.
These
are choices that have been made, one choice after another, after another, to where we are here right now.
Right. And then the telepathy tapes, when I first started listening to them, they had just passed Joe Rogan as the #1 telepathy tape. Well, I said the name Joe Rogan during one of my sermons, and that was the last thing people heard.
Yeah.
And I was saying that they passed him as #1.
Yeah.
But because of their belief system, that's all I could hear, right?
Yeah.
But what I have learned through the telepathy tapes and through even her being on Joe Rogan is how this veil now is being opened. And and for our audience, we haven't really explained the telepathy tapes, but they're really centered around non-speaking autistic people. However, in the telepathy tapes, they talk about dogs and parrots and horses and speaking people and all kinds of things, how it's always working. I mean, how is that study they did with the parrot when they got the lady in one side of the house and the parrots in the other side of the house and saying what the lady's looking at? I mean,
that's amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah. The
right?
fact that an animal could be tapping into universal consciousness and able to see, or in that case, the parrot, whatever the man was looking at in the other room, the parrot was like he had held a phone in his mind,
right,
and a color or whatever, and the parrot's able to make the sound, like talking like it's on the phone. Hello, who's there? Who is it? And then the sounds of a recording device.
Right,
beep,
right.
Leave your message after the beep type of thing. That was one example, and there's so many in there, but I mean, I guess for me too, what really blew my mind about that is what, the way that the non-speaking autistic community has been kept down, and even hearing about the politics behind whether or not we should even be talking about this. Like,
so for years I've worked with Surfers for Autism. You know that, right?
That's why I wanted to ask you about that.
And it's funny because, I'm the first one guilty of it, but I'd see a family with their nonverbal kid, and they have trouble controlling. They almost look a little spastic, but have trouble controlling their physical bodies. And I would look at them with this sense of pity, like, oh, that poor family. Well, not anymore, Todd. Not anymore.
They were given the greatest gift of all time.
I'm looking at the most highly advanced soul on the planet, and whether I'll ever be able to communicate with them, who knows? But I'm now everything's different. My whole it's like what you explained before. How did people feel when they were told the world was round, not flat? When they believed for so many long time it was flat, and then suddenly I had to take on a whole new paradigm. That's how I feel what's happened to me.
Yeah.
My paradigm has gotten completely at least opened up, where I can not feel so bad about talking about this stuff and explaining it, how it's being revealed to me anyway.
Do you think that, for me, so one of the things that I think was maybe felt overwhelming before, but now feels enlightening, is I have to monitor my thoughts. I have to think about what I'm thinking. What? Like, that's going to be so difficult because
it's not.
We have 80,000 thoughts a day come flooding in, come flooding out, right?
You don't have to monitor all 80,000. You just got to monitor the 8 or 10 you choose to grasp onto.
Yeah.
And when you choose, and when it's a thought that, when it's a thought that rocks your peace, you got to be like, hey, this isn't it. Now, in the telepathy tapes, when they learned that the children communicated, I think it was Hudson or John Paul, and And they said, you've been listening to my thoughts for 15 years.
Yeah, the mom.
And imagine what the mother had thought,
yeah,
how much she had cursed this disease. She'd like probably thought these horrible thoughts, and he could hear them all. Then that was the one that made my light bulb go on.
Yeah,
whoa, John.
Yeah.
Even if we're even here.
Yeah.
You may not know what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm thinking.
That's what's so interesting.
And you can feel what I'm thinking. So it doesn't, you may not know it in your objective little Todd mind.
Like it doesn't come through and go, oh, I heard John say that he likes the fact that the walls are blue.
Right.
But I feel it.
Right.
I'm picking up on it.
Exactly.
Whether I'm aware of it or not.
And we are aware of it. Extremely
aware of it.
And why do you think we get so heavy and confused? Because so many people's thoughts are like that, but we're feeling it from everywhere.
Whoa, I know, man. I know.
And this
explains a lot. It explains almost everything.
It does.
It gives explanation to the unexplained. In relation, like just what you said. You go into a space, you're like, why am I feeling this intense energy? And like, oh, get me out of here, or whatever. Because you're picking up on it. Well, all right. So I know that's probably one of what would hold me back from being like, okay, yeah, I want to trust that this is true. But I have noticed that just within the 2 weeks since I've been letting this kind of permeate and practicing meditation every morning and really focusing in on what my intention is. Because one of the things that Mr. Campbell makes extremely clear in My Big Toe is it's all about intent. You have to be so clear about what your intentions are. Once you get clarity on intent, then it aligns and it works really great. And you can see the power of that alignment.
Well, then the universe opens up. You said something before about the parrot tapping into the universal mind or something, but that's not, the parrot is always tapped in. We're all tapped in. We just tap out. So we're all tapped in all the time, or we would not be living, moving beings. The problem is we get our anger, our insecurities, our judgments, our worries, our whatever, and that disconnects us from this higher level. Now, one of the things that keeps us disconnected is speaking, because we can't communicate in those thoughts like the bird and the guy did when they just send a thought. They say a lot of telepathic communication happens almost in picture. You see the picture before you actually hear the words or something. It's not really words. So, so monitoring your thoughts. That's one of my foundational that's when Carol told me. He said you need to monitor and replace. So you monitor your thoughts. If it's a good one, keep thinking it. If it makes you feel out of harmony, out of peace, replace it. Replace it with one of the ones that makes you feel. You can't just stop thinking about it. People say, how do I stop thinking about this problem? I'm like, you don't. You start thinking about something else. So you've heard don't think about a pink elephant, Todd. Do not think about a pink elephant, right?
Yeah.
And now we're all sitting here, pink elephant. Well, as soon as I say, Todd, think about a blue elephant, okay? Really think about a blue elephant. Now the pink one's gone. But not because we stopped thinking about it, because we started thinking something else.
Great point.
And when that's the way we have to do it with all of life. As soon as I start thinking a fear thought, I got to go back to a love thought. And and I think that you remember later on in the last or the first talk tracks or something where they said, they're giving us what they want us to know. They want us to know it's all about love. It's all about coming back to this place of love, of connection and unity, not duality and separation. And
that's a great point. If I sit quietly and I pick 5 people in my life that I really want to send positivity toward. And I think maybe where people have a hard time with this, because I even caught a little glimpse of myself wondering, how do I navigate this, is I can love everyone and everything. And sometimes we've been taught that you can only love this type of person. Maybe if I'm male, I can only send love to a female. Or if I'm male and I like males, I can only send love to the male, but I can't to the female. Or maybe, you know what I mean? There's been all this cultural conditioning that's so insane.
Yeah, and that's
that for me to actually visualize everyone and say, love John, love Sandy, love Bill, love this person, love, and do that in a way where it's actually coming from a place of intent and love.
I am love.
Yeah.
I am love. So that's all I can do is love you because I am love. So I'm letting that shine out. So a few weeks ago, I got invited up to the Martin County Correctional Institution, maximum security prison. And I was to perform a wedding, and I went to 2 wellness groups. Okay. Now I'm sitting here in this cage with 30 men. Okay. And I know that they're murderers. I know that these are probably, they're in there for not good things, a lot of life sentences and a lot of horrible things. But you know what, Todd? I didn't know any of them. I knew none of their names, and I knew none of the reasons they were there. So I could stand in front of that group of men and say, listen, I love you guys. My friend does, and I don't, you know, I'm just looking at them as a group of men. No, I didn't have any judgment. I didn't know why they were there. Now, if you started giving me all their rap sheets, that would have been different. Then I would have started having fears and judgments, and then, whoa, you know, I can't believe that guy did that or whatever. But there was a space. And last night I was taking a class, and one of the ladies like, well, then you've never been in love if you don't know that feeling of love, of when a person holds you in their arms. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, I don't think that's the kind of love we're talking about. You know, we're talking about even a deeper form of love, which can never let you down.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. That's a great point, John. That would be a challenging situation. That's pretty intense. I didn't know you did that. I didn't know
it was radical. But he told me, you know, there's MS-13 guys here, and there's all the different Aragua gangs and all the different gangs. But in another weird way, Todd, it was a sense of community. Like, probably no one's gonna, you know, get in an altercation in this situation. So in some way, there's this order and semblance, even in this place where, you know, there's people with real bad intentions. But
well, this is a great point, and I could see where this would cause people to have all sorts of questions and debate around, you know, do we send love even to the most horrific person that's done the most horrific things to people, children, elderly? How could we extend love to somebody who has shown nothing but the opposite?
Because you're not extending like, okay, you're extending love. You're extending something much bigger than us. The sun shines on those criminals just like it shines on you and me. And it shines on every person on this planet. There's a ray of sun for, right?
Yeah.
And so our love can be as unjudgmental as the rays of the sun. Now, do I like you? Do I want to hang out with you? That's a whole nother conversation. Do you like me? That's a whole nother world.
Yeah, I get it.
But I love you, and you can love me if you choose to, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a higher thing.
I get it.
There is no judgment there.
I get it.
You know, but once then we move down, it's like, well, I don't know if I like him or not.
Yeah. Do you think that people are feeling like, on the one level with the telepathy tapes, that there are certain people that are involved in the education field and department that are not wanting this sort of information to come to light and are making it difficult for non-speakers to find access to being able to type or tap to be able to communicate, where there's that like sort of barrier? Do you think that why we're so fearful of this concept is because we're just not in touch with our feelings and thoughts and emotions, and that just freaks us out?
I think there's a couple reasons. One is we all believe the world's flat. You know? So we looked at these kids and we boxed them and we said, you know, this is a population which is special, needs help, has to go on, needs special schooling and everything. And we never opened our eyes to be like, maybe we're wrong, but now that's happening. So I think that we're getting taught the world's wrong. Now I knew it in my heart. I just didn't know they were the trendsetters.
Yeah.
And it's really incredible. It's an incredible experience. It's made me, realize why a lifelong dedication to meditation and prayer has not been in vain.
Yeah.
And I mean, I already said the reason why I'm married 30 years is because we meditate together, and a family that prays together stays together. I used to joke that, well, even if it doesn't work in our house, no one's arguing for 10 minutes because only one person's talking. So there's going to be at least no arguing for a 10-minute period in our house, or no any communication, right? Well, that opened up when I started to learn about 2 or more gathering and the power of the mastermind connection. And then I started to be like, wow, we've been really connecting on a metaphysical oneness for years, because for that 10 minutes, we think the same thoughts at the same time. I'm thinking I am perfect health and seeing her in perfect health. She's thinking perfect health for herself and then seeing me in perfect health. So there's this, even though we're, only one person's talking, but psychically we're completely in one body. And that's really what the mastermind is all about.
Got it.
When 2 people become one in mind.
Interesting.
And it's probably how you and Tamara created this place. It was the 2 of you kind of like masterminded it. It wasn't just you.
I agree. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I know. I mean, one of the things that I don't know how far, if you've had a chance, how far deep into my big toe. And I know that like these ideas, to throw them out without having the build up from book 1 all the way up into the deeper stuff.
I'm already there in book 3.
Well, one of them relates to this idea of, so I remember as a kid always having being told, I grew up with Christianity, that God knows every thought you have, everything you do. And then as I became overly skeptical, because what I love about this idea of being an open-minded skeptic, like the way that we're going to be able to navigate this new multidimensional paradigm is by keeping an open mind, but also being skeptical, asking honest questions and testing it to see, does it actually work for me? Am I getting any verifiable results? Let me collect data and see if the data, and then don't question it too much when you haven't collected enough data. Just go with the process for a little while and start seeing, is some of this stuff actually making sense? Does it work for you? Does it? And if it does, and when it does, if it does, then you'll be able to look back and go, okay, I've collected enough data that I feel confident in even coming out and speaking like this and talking to you about it, right? So when I read the way that he describes the way that we are living in basically like a computer program, that there is a file on every single thing that we've done from the moment till we come in, to the moment we go out, to the moment that we've been in as many lives as we've ever lived, to as many lives in the future that we ever will live. And there is documentation, and you or I or anybody that has the ability can go into that file and research and go into this like web, this like, and it's amazing because I believe probably indigenous people are obviously tapped in on this already, and then somehow it got so far removed from it that now we've had to create a technological version of the internet to now demonstrate that, okay, it is possible. And through a computer system that really is not much different from a human being, in the sense that we have memory, we have storage capacity, we have the body, the housing of it. We have all these processes that make the consciousness, or allow for the consciousness to exist. And I also think too, the fact that we're witnessing the rise of AI and the rise of the consciousness of the AI, the improvement every day. We can go into ChatGPT and see how much better it is getting every day. Like, it's crazy. And you can ask ChatGPT like you're asking God a question. What should I do in this situation? And it throws out so much information. You're like, whoa, is this is this artificial, or is this even beyond artificial? And
it's not artificial because it learned from us, you know? And I guess I don't think it's as well. I do not believe in artificial intelligence as much as I believe in the Akashic records, where that what you were talking about before, where it's all stored, and it's all stored in these ethers. Now, the nonverbal kids can go up there and they can access that, and they can access something else called universal mind, and that's why they can go over there and bring the contents of a whole book just by touching it, or learn to speak a new language overnight, or know everything about Harry Potter because their sister read it, you know, crazy stuff like that.
Crazy stuff like that.
But it's all contained in those ethers, and they don't have to, don't have to bring it in one word at a time. They just download it, the whole file, boom, done, you know, and it's, you know, it's remarkable. But I really believe that we're going to be seeing things coming up here quickly that are going to really start enlightening us to a whole new world.
I know, man. Another thing that definitely blew my mind, or is blowing my mind, is this this idea that, okay, I have a choice. I can make a choice. And I think that maybe I have one or two choices. Like, I don't have a lot of choice, and I feel like kind of walled in, and I got this choice or that choice. And sometimes I don't even feel like I have one or the other. And the reality that we have millions of different choices that we could choose from. There are so many opportunities of different ways we could address a problem. There's so many different ways that we could.
There's millions of wrong choices too.
And there's a lot of choices that will bring a zap of electricity and not a piece of cheese. And the way that we learn which choices are good is by the reward, which you know, ties in this element of karma, this idea of like instant karma, having the ability to sense, I just did this. How did that make me feel? Okay, that didn't feel so good. I'm not going to do that again. And to be able to learn that quickly. Oh, yeah. And look how many times things we do the same freaking thing over and over and over and over with the same reaction over. And then eventually, hopefully, we wake up.
Right.
And go, I don't have to do that anymore.
Well, what's the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
It's incredible. It's so simple, though. I mean, I guess I feel like it's profound, but you're right. It's just this simple realization.
And in reality, that's how we make progress too, because we figure out what works, and then we do it over and over and over. You know, you don't go to yoga once and be a yogi or have a flexible body. It has to become a practice. So, like, you know, I become 3, 4, or 5 times a week to really start to have it happen. You ain't coming once. Same thing with spirituality. You're not going to have an aha and have your whole life change. It's a renewal. So, you know, we are renewed by what we think on a daily basis. And so, like you said, we have to guard our thoughts like, you know, like the Gestapo. We cannot allow those thoughts to come in, which are going to cause the situations we don't want, which is going to cause inharmony and cause that unrest. And so, and it's really made me, you know, Barry and I, we like to have our gossip snuggles, we call them. Well, I'm even scared. I'm even weary of them nowadays. You know? I do not want to be talking about people or things that I can't say right in front of them. And if I do have that feeling in my mind, I want to say something about someone, I really want to switch it. You know, they're doing the best they can. You know, I forgive them for doing that. I want to be in an attitude of that.
How do you respond? I'm playing a little devil's advocate here as we go along, just throwing out different ideas so I can hear where you've landed and think about. How do you respond to the fear and paranoia people have about the quote thought police? This idea that like, oh, now like they look at it. It's like you and I are saying, hey, look, if I like what I just took from what you said, if I have a gossip session with my tightest, closest person that I know is not going to leak the gossip, I can keep the gossip with my tight circle. At 1A, we don't ever know truly that will never escape that moment. But
it escapes the moment.
It escapes the moment. It escapes the moment, right? So maybe someone then who's listening goes, I don't like this because this sounds like the freaking thought police are gonna like now. But I don't think it's like that. I think the way that you learn that this is true is because you feel it. It doesn't feel good when you do it.
When you start to experience peace, like true peace, where you're, yeah, I'm pretty peaceful. Everything's okay in my life right now, right? And you start to experience a true sense of peace. And then, and you've worked for it through yoga, through meditation, through prayer, through spirituality. Somehow you've achieved this sense of peace in yourself. Well, when that gets rocked, the thought police better be around, because you want to know what is the thought I'm thinking, which is taking away my peace right now. So really, when I started, when I became a minister, there's a thought in the Course in Miracles that goes like this.
You want the thought police.
Yeah, you want them there. So I'm not at peace. I must be making a wrong decision. But I made this decision myself, and I want to be at peace so I can make another decision, meaning I can think another thought. So if I'm going along thinking about a thought about how, someone did me wrong, I can just ruminate on that, but it takes away my peace immediately. So I'm like, I don't like this. Now, if I'm a person who doesn't know about peace, I can go along just fine in that way, but I can't do that anymore, because you want to be at peace. And so once we start to understand that level of peace, then when it starts to get rattled, the thought police should come in. And with thought police, at the end of the day, they should bring you back to love, to gratitude, and to forgiveness, and reestablish that vibration. Remember, all this telepathy stuff, it's vibration. We're talking on a vibration. It's pretty low, actually. The vibration of speech is really low. And the vibration of thought, even higher. The vibration of that consciousness you were talking about, where the Akashic records are stored and all that, in universal mind, that's even higher. So we have to keep moving up to higher levels of communication.
Do you have a memory of a time where you were not being exposed to this idea, but you had a feeling or thought of, oh boy, maybe I just experienced something that was of what I thought telepathy was? Did you ever have a moment? I remember a specific moment, so that's why I was in India, and I was practicing in Mysore in the room with a lot of other students, and the focus was so sharp, each person in the room. So right when I walked in, I could feel it, the sharpness, like the clarity, and I just had this, and I remember having a thought and having that feeling of, uh-oh, I don't need that thought, because that's felt. Everybody here, it just felt like we all were in that space. And it was intense. And I was kind of like,
and that little thought was going to dumb it down.
I was bringing in an energy that wasn't going to help the group. And therefore I just had that, and no one said anything to me. Nobody, when I checked in at the door, said, hey, check your thoughts before you come in,
right.
Because we're all trying to, clean that up a little bit in here. It was just a felt sense. And I kind of was like, whoa, is that real? Like, was that for real? Was that just me wigging on, was I in my head too much, or it felt so real. So, I mean, what I've been noticing now too, is that now that, how like you said, pink elephant, I wasn't thinking pink elephant. Like, okay, like as soon as you say pink elephant, well, I'm probably not going to walk out and see a pink elephant. But if you said white Volkswagen Beetle,
right.
Now I go out and I drive home, there's one, no way. But until my mind has been put on it, I didn't think about it. So from reading the book and becoming like a little more, whoa, like walking down the street, kind of watching the way the leaves are coming off the trees and the way they're landing and the way the wind is blowing and going, whoa, what's going on here? This is intense, man. Like seeing nature and seeing our reality in such a different way, where seeing it from the perspective of this, we're in a little like a challenge game, like we've been put here to grow consciousness, to evolve our consciousness. And if we choose to not do that, we're just going to keep getting beat up and we get worked over.
And we grow this consciousness through thinking, right? We grow the consciousness through thinking, through communicating, through relating. That's how we grow
this process. You and I coming together. This is where the most amount of work can get done.
Right. And then we go out by ourselves, right? And we see all the trees coming down, right?
Yeah.
But in some way, each of us has created this universe which we're going along in. We're creating our bubble, right? That we're occupying as we travel along through space. Now, and then, it's really our world in some way becomes a direct reflection of our inner belief system, of our inner thoughts. So the problem is when you start to suffer from pain, you feel the pain, so you believe in the pain. So as above, so below, and as below, so above, and it gets into this cycle where reality becomes about that. It's really hard to break it.
It's so. I mean, that's why I really enjoyed. I mean, and obviously, an accumulation of knowledge and information is coming our way, and we can choose to seek it out, or we can choose to try to hide away from it. And when I was wanting to believe I could heal my back on my own without having it fixed by somebody else, and again, I'll still keep the door open. I'll still stay open-minded. If I need to have somebody help me in that department, I'll go there. But I was reading some Joe Dispenza work and Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, or something to that effect, that title. And this concept of quantum physics of imagine the body that you're stepping into. And as you take the step, imagine you've walked into that body that's pain-free. And you're like, gosh, that sounds so simple. Maybe it is. Maybe it takes time, though. I don't feel like it's
simple. Well, it took, we didn't come to believe in our pain overnight.
Good point.
Good point. However, we cut ourselves. If you just keep it clean, we're going to sit there and we watch it heal. Well, we don't have any doubt that my cut's going to heal.
Good point, John.
But now I got pain in my back. That seems a little more serious than this cut in my arm, right? Is it? They say there's no level of difficulties in miracles in the Course in Miracles. So there is no level of difficulty. So healing the cut on the arm or healing the back is the same thing, but our belief system's different. We believe that we have a structural problem, so we go about all this stuff, and then we have 20 other people that are going to confirm it because they have bad backs, and then everybody got this big bag club going on, and we all got bad backs, And I always remember that club too for a long time, and so it's amazing how fast.
It's amazing.
I was reading a book the other day. Some lady said she was testing it. She goes, and started saying, I have a sore throat. I have a sore throat. I have a sore throat. Well, 2 days later, she had a sore throat. Then she was able to heal. She said it took a little longer to get rid of it than it took her to get it, but she was able to get rid of it the same way.
Yeah.
And as we use those, whatever we're affirming in life is what we're getting. And so we got to be that's another reason to monitor and guard your thoughts. If I'm sitting here saying I am this or that, I'm tired, I'm broke, I'm depressed, I'm angry, I'm pissed off. If I'm saying those things, you're going to meet a John Denney that's going to reflect those. And that's the other problem. We have our spiritual being, and it's always creating, never observing. That's why we got to be careful of the gossip snuggles. But what is its creation? Well, mine's creation is John Denney, and yours creation is Todd. So you have this being. We have our spiritual thought being, and it's creating. God created the heavens and the earth. We created this being of light here.
Yeah.
And what is that being? And that being is a direct product of our thoughts and belief systems.
Great point. I guess then that sort of old fear that you keep hearing me bring up, and obviously if I bring it up again, I'm feeling like I'm already missing the point of what you just said, but is actually, I was going to say the old fear, the old fear I had about the thought police is actually liberation. Because once I realize and I start to churn in the direction of liberation,
right?
It's liberation.
And Todd,
so,
what does Todd want?
It's
Todd
that freaking simple.
What do we all want? We
it's
all want
that
to
simple all along. It was that
Yeah.
easy. Like, why did it take me so long? Why? I mean, obviously I know why. I mean, I get it. I understand why, you know, but I just think how funny. That's why I think the shift, this little multi-dimensional shift that we're feeling is like, it's speeding up, man.
It is.
I mean, if you look
up
around and you just pay attention, I mean, and not on the news, like don't even go there to try to pay attention. I'm talking more like just immediate environment, family, friends. What is happening with close family members? How is the communication dynamic right now? How is I mean, I spent this morning, I got up at 5 and I was telling, so one of the things that Mr. Campbell kind of got going back in the late 60s and 70s, and whether or not he's the original founder of this, but the binaural beats. And so I've been putting on headphones and using these tones where it takes your mind from the really high intensity thinking thought forms down into like the just before sleep thought forms. And I've been finding, like, after going and sitting and meditating for like 10 days at a Vipassana meditation retreat, by like day 8, 9, you finally get like, wow, my mind is starting to calm down. It took like 8 days of sitting here on a cushion for 12 hours a day, but finally. And with these binaural beats, in one session in 30 minutes, getting so deep down into that space where all I want to do is, who are the members around me that I'm not getting along with? I love you. I love you. And then even something I heard too, don't even come in that strong right away. Ask maybe for some permission. Is it okay if I come in and offer you some love? Right? Like that kind of thought. Is it okay if I want to approach you and I really want to heal what we have going on? And is it okay if I come in and offer some love? Instead of, because at first I want to just be like, love, I love you, heal now. And then, and almost being like, whoa, take a step back, calm down, just relax, and ask for permission. And then wait to see, what do I hear? What do I feel? If they say no, okay, I still want to let you know that I love you, but I respect your space. So let me just, give you some space.
Yeah. Well,
what do you think? What do you think? Is that being too polite? Should you just come in hard and heavy with the love, or do you?
So when I was learning my metaphysical work, my meditation has 4 different areas, right? So there's health and abundance, so 2 of them. And Carol said you can really only pray for people in health and abundance who are open to it and want it. Because otherwise, if they want their illness, if they want their maladies, they're going to be believing those. And if they want lack and they want to be broke, they can be broke. Well, then there's universal harmony, which is basically the power of love and right action. He said, send those to everybody. They'll just build up on the doorstep. So you can, send that love to everyone, and sooner or later they are going to receive it. So I think you can go pretty hard with the love, but I think you can, like you said, though, you got to be kind of careful. You can't, the person has to be ready to be healed. Now, I believe God works through doctors. I believe God works through you. You keep people from a pain. You try to help people live a pain-free life. That's the same idea. I try to help people live a confusion-free life, or at least a little bit less confused. So it's the same thing, though. It's just getting rid of the pain and suffering. We're all going through the same stuff anyway.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Interesting. Yeah.
And if you break a bone, I'd go to a doctor to make sure you got it set right. And, God works through doctors. There's a reason why we have that profession out there, and I think at the foundational level, the idea is we're to help people.
Yeah. Do you feel that there sometimes some conversation I've heard around this is that be really careful, because if you start astral traveling, you might find yourself landing in a world that you can't get out. And then the more I did some research, I heard them people that are really good at it say, no, you don't need to worry about that.
No.
What you need to just do is, once you feel that you're in a space that you don't want to be in, move out right away. Like, just move out. Just leave that little space, you know?
And I think most of us, are probably not going to experience true astral travel as far as at some levels where we leave the body. However, I think we all experience it in things like lucid dreaming, even dreaming. Even dreaming, you're going into a place where you weren't. But last year I had a dream where I was in the dream walking along, and I'm like, I'm dreaming right now. I'm in a dream, but I'm fully awake.
Yes.
And I said, if this is true, I should be able to jump down this flight of stairs like a skateboarder and no problem and bonk it down to the bottom. So I jumped down the first flight of stairs, land at the bottom, no problem.
Yeah.
I look at a second flight of stairs. This one's like a 30-stair flight. I'm like, I can do it again. So I jumped down the second flight of stairs. Then I'm like, I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
So then I jumped into the Grand Canyon, just started flying like Superman, flying down this canyon.
Yeah.
And then I flew out into space and I saw other people flying. And I was like, it's kind of weird. They must be parachuting since no one else can fly except me, right? I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And I fly down to them. Well, they're all flying too.
Yep.
We all flew down into this like board meeting, and I found myself in this long room. But it wasn't like any other dream, because I was deciding what I was going to do. I wasn't reacting. I was doing it.
Yeah.
And it was really a bizarre experience.
I had one this week too, John. Amazing. That realization, you're in it going, whoa, wait a minute. Whoa, this is actually a dream.
Right.
I'm in this dream right now.
Right.
And this is the thing that I was hoping to try to have contact with. And I'm dreaming, I was just blown. I woke up and I went, whoa, data point, write that one down. I've been trying to write every morning, write gratitude journal, and then get up before I meditate, write what I'm thinking, what my intention is, what my affirmation is, do the meditation, come out, and then write down whatever happened, as much detail as I can remember.
That's cool.
And I'm finding if I don't do it right after, 3 or 4 hours later, it's just like dreaming.
Yeah.
It's like meditation. And this is really a fasting aspect too, because I heard that this was mentioned by Mr. Campbell, that some meditation traditions just say, just stay in your body. And that's how Vipassana meditation was when I did training there. They said, just stay in your body, stay in your body, stay on the sensation. And this is this is way more exciting, because you get to go out of just your knees,
your body,
and your ankles and your shoulder.
Right.
It is way more creative, imaginative. It feels way more exciting, and like you can actually have some fun, and you can heal, and you can meet some amazing people. You can talk to people that you haven't talked to in ages and ages, and it's just
what's funny about that is, you hear so much about heart-centered meditation, okay? And I teach it in heart math, and there is a definite power to being in control of our physical body, to be in control of my respiratory system, control of my cardiac system, control of my nervous system and my hormonal system. I mean, conscious control. But what I've been taught about meditation, and I went to my heart center for years. Someone told me one time, it's not about there. If you're going to your heart center, where are you focusing from? And I'm like, well, somehow from my head. He goes, well, then go to your head center. So we go to the crown, basically the crown chakra, right up behind that, above the pineal gland. And I found this head-centered meditation brings me to a place way beyond my body-centered meditation. I mean, I can't even tell you. And I knew it right away.
Yeah.
I knew it on the second day I did it.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's a different experience.
It's a different experience.
Yeah. And
yeah.
And then hopefully we'll find ourselves in the hill where we can actually communicate back and forth. But
and let me just clarify, you just said the hill, not hell. Just for anybody listening, he did not say hopefully we go to hell.
No,
once you listen to the telepathy tape, you'll know what he's talking about.
The hill.
Okay, thank you. Good. I just want to make sure, because one time I heard them say hill and I thought they said hell. And I'm like, wait, what? I went to hell to communicate. I'm like, no, I don't want to go down there.
No. We're going to the hill. So hopefully that's where we're headed now.
Oh gosh, man. Yeah, man. Well, wow, John. Thank
we'll have
you.
To do this again soon.
We have to do it again.
Let's do another episode.
Let's experiment.
All right.
Let's get some data points. Come back and see if anything has been revealed. See what kind of feedback people listening to this, what their thoughts are. I just highly recommend everybody. Well, I mean, do telepathy tapes first, in my opinion, because my big toe is a big dive. It's super scientific. But I mean, if you're more of a scientifically based person like I am, I would say go to my big toe, because you're gonna have to come up with some good debate argument points to go against some of this stuff. And I can't wait to hear what some of that is, because I want to be challenged and I want to grow and learn. And that's why I'm here. And that's why I'm so glad you're here, John. Thank you.
Well, let's keep seeking, knocking, and asking, and we'll find those answers and pierce the veil. So thank you for having me again, Todd. I really enjoy being on your podcast, and looking forward to the next time.
Thank you, John.
All right.